With Matt Gaetz, you never know what headlines you're gonna come across. And I saw this and thought we just have to dive into this. Matt Gaetz keeps an article about his sex trafficking investigation signed by Donald Trump at his office. That is apparently a true thing. Actually, apparently some people had been aware of this before. Seems madness to me. In a glass display case, there's a handwritten note from President Trump, scribbled, of course, in Sharpie, on an article about Gaetz defending himself against, in case you are not aware of Representative Gaetz's allegations, a federal sex trafficking probe involving the transportation of a 17-year-old across state lines. Matt, this is great, Trump wrote. Keep fighting, you will win. And so this has previously been reported on, but now a photo is available. There is proof. Take a look at this. That is a photo of him with Trump and Trump's weird writing with his Richter scale signature at the bottom. Gaetz launches 6-figure ad in district defending himself, again, against sex trafficking charges. I personally, in my office or whatever, would not have any references to the fact that I am alleged to have conducted sex trafficking. Matt Gaetz apparently thinks it's some sort of trophy as long as Trump is involved. What do you think, David?
Well, there is something to be said about, look, I know a lot of people who, they post their rejection letters, whether it's they're looking for a job or looking for college admission, and they paper their wall with all the rejection letters to say, okay, this is gonna motivate me. These people sort of rejected me, therefore I'm gonna prove them wrong. And maybe there's something about Matt Gaetz and his claims that he's innocent, saying I'm gonna prove these people wrong, I'm gonna be vindicated that there's really nothing here. And to his point, he has not yet been indicted. Having said that, I think it's also possible that he and Donald Trump share this sort of interest in younger women, and Donald Trump and perhaps maybe was impressed that Matt Gaetz was trafficking, if he was a 17-year-old, and thought that that was somehow cool. And Matt Gaetz was like, yeah, it is kind of cool. Look at what a man I am because I get away with this stuff.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and what you just said about Trump there, that doesn't even get into the area of allegations. I mean, certainly Trump faces a lot of really disgusting, awful allegations when it comes to the way that he has apparently treated women for literally decades. The stuff about him liking younger women, all you have to do is ask him, just talk to him for a little bit and he'll start talking about, I mean, when he talked about Epstein, about how Epstein likes young women just like he does, and he makes jokes, Trump makes jokes about how little girls, he'll be dating them in 10 years. It's sick stuff, but that's what he chose to do for literally decades. And so maybe that connection is true. We haven't talked on the show about the Matt Gaetz stuff in some time. I will say that it remains an area of incredible frustration for me, because to differentiate it from like the Lauren Boebert stuff, there's apparently a lot of at least digital paper trail in this. And maybe all of it has been misconstrued or misinterpreted. But if that is the case, it has been a very long time. Whoever was investigating this, I think should have an obligation. We should have an expectation that they would either move on it, or if there isn't anything there and you've had enough time seemingly to find it, then clear his name. Like actually, if there's nothing there, then let's move on. But just letting it hang out there for so many months in a row, David, I find so incredibly frustrating.
It's not only frustrating, and I get your point, it's also against Department of Justice policy. There are policies that when you're dealing with public corruption and public officials, elected officials, at a certain point, there's an obligation on prosecutors, US attorneys to say, okay, we are going to indict you. You send that person a target letter to warn that they are in danger of being indicted in the next 3 or 4 months. Or when your investigation has wrapped up and you have cooperating witnesses in this case, if you feel you are not able to make the case, you let them know, you let their attorneys know, okay, the investigation remains open, but at this point, we have no plans to indict you or bring charges. The fact that they're not doing either of that, I think underscores why it is troubling to you, troubling to a lot of people at the Justice Department, troubling to a lot of people who've been wondering what is taking them so long.
100%. My final thought is, I wonder, will we have a story in like a year and a half of Lauren Boebert having a glass case with Trump's Sharpie writing on her defending herself against the American muckrakers arguments? Maybe. I don't think he said anything publicly about it yet, but he really likes Lauren Boebert and she's in love with him. So I wonder if he'll be coming out in support of her soon.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.